How are you fine people doing today? I just got to grab TikTok over here and we'll get this party started. All right. Just got to grab the talk. Got to grab the talk and then we'll get this party started. All right, let's see. What do we want to do here? We want to go live. We're going to call it Homeschool and we're going to call it Courage. I really didn't know what I wanted to call this today, but that's what I went with. I was just going to talk about what was on my mind. All right. We're going the wrong way. Hold on. How do I flip this? I might have to kill this stream. Hold on. Did I do that? Like, why did he start the stream and then end the stream? All right. Because my camera was facing the wrong way. Why is my camera facing the wrong way? Okay. There we go. There we go. Welcome to the 21st century, Brett. Welcome to the 21st century, where we have technology and we have to learn how to use it. Like a simple task of flipping the direction or which camera your phone is using. Nonetheless, the objective has been completed and we are good to go. Thank you for these videos. You're welcome, Instagram commenter. You are very welcome. It is a beautiful day here in the sunny South. Melissa's sending me roses already. Things are going well. Beautiful day. Slept a little late this morning. Woke up at about 5 a.m. But I got done what I had to get done for the most part. Definitely have a lot more to do today. But anyway, how's it going, guys? Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to talk about today, but I was watching a lot of Pockets of the Future, and he was talking about the whole Kyrie situation. Now, for those of you not familiar, Kyrie Irving's a basketball player he's in the NBA, and you know he wound up giving up. Yeah, I think it'll wind up being less in the end, but essentially was willing to give up. Oh yeah, I'm doing much better. My sinuses, right? My allergies cleared up. I took your advice. I tried the honey, and then I also took these antihistamine herbs, and it seems to have done the trick, at least for now. As I always joke with Nicole, my favorite politician is there's this guy in South Africa, and he's not a nice guy. I am not advocating for he can't even say it here, what he says. But anyway, so I was thinking about Kyrie Irving, and I was thinking about this man who he was willing to surrender everything. I mean, he was basically willing to walk away from $30 million. Yeah, Nicole's like, you can't say that. From $30 million to stand up for what he believed in. And when you think about that, in this world of, you know, all these people who sell their souls for nickels and lollipops and fancy pants, there is something so special about that. And when he was doing it, when he said that he wouldn't get the procedure that all of the media and the whole world wanted him to get, I mean, he faced incredible ostracism. And he was called all types of derogatory terms. He's an anti-you-know-whatter. They questioned, oh, Hardwood Bear, nice of you to show up today. I needed you yesterday. I'm assuming you know how to prune a lemon plant, a lemon tree. We didn't know how to do it, but I was like, if Hardwood Bear was here, he would definitely know how to do it. I just assume you know everything. But Kyrie was willing to stand up for what he believed in. And, I mean, he was uniformly attacked. And if you ever want to know what issues come down from Mount Olympus, right, just see, like, if there's anyone that goes against the grain, how they're treated. How was the quarterback in Green Bay treated, right? How was Kyrie treated, right? And I was thinking about the courage he faced as they called him an anti-you-know-whatter, and they called him selfish, and they called him a bad teammate, and he's a me guy because he's not worried about his teammates, and of course he's a me guy because he doesn't care if something happens to grandma. He's such a bad guy, he shouldn't be allowed in the arena and whatnot. But the thing is that when you stand by what is true, over time, time will reveal that you are correct, and time will reveal what these snakes in the grass truly are. And so Kyrie, stood his ground, and by the way, as this was happening, keep in mind that in most states, right, players were allowed to play if they didn't do what they were pressuring Kyrie to do. So it was really just in New York and California, these two bastions of human liberty, that that these athletes were getting all this. That they were being told they had to do it, or if they didn't do it, they wouldn't be allowed to play. And Kyrie stood his ground, and over time, it was revealed that he was right. And now it's gotten to the point where Kyrie is allowed to attend his home games. He's allowed to be there and sit courtside. He's just not allowed to play in the games. And thousands of people who are also in the arena didn't get the procedure, and they're allowed to be there, right? So anyway, finally, because it's so abundantly obvious that it's nonsense, even one of his very famous teammates, Kevin Durant, spoke up. And he was like, the mayor's, really he's making us look like fools, that, Kyrie, he could sit there courtside and he could give us hugs and all of the fans could be there, but he can't play because, basically what Durant said is this sure looks like it's political and doesn't have anything to do with, that thing that, are you a denier? Are you a denier of Mr. wants to give you an ouchie and his religious doctrine? Are you a denier? Right? So, anyway, Kyrie, he's looking good. But then, you get these void people, these vacant people, these media heads who sell their souls for nickels and, for lollipops and fancy pants. And they don't admit they're wrong, right? Like, I was watching Pockets and he was covering these fools on Pardon the Interruption. Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. Tony Kornheiser, interestingly enough, grew up one town over from me. Tony Kornheiser. These sellouts. And rather than admit they were wrong, they doubled down and said, Kyrie he could free himself by giving in to tyranny. Like, oh, that's such an interesting understanding of free, right? You got the creepy, the whole situation is like the creepy guy at the top of the hole he dug, and he's standing there and he's like, put the lotion on the skin and you don't get the hose. Put the lotion on the skin and you don't get the hose. Yeah, right? And like Dr. Ouchie and like the NBA and like all of these powerful billionaires and at these mega corporations and that really corrupt industry, they're all standing above Kyrie Irving, right? And they're like, put the lotion on the skin and you don't get the hose. Get the procedure and then you'll be free. And like these people will look you in the eye with a straight face and be like, he could get his freedom back by giving in to tyranny. Well, the truth is that Kyrie is the only one that's free. He's the only one who's not a slave. Because those bozos at ESPN, those Pardon the Interruption bozos, would lose everything they had if they dared to utter something that was true. But it goes deeper than that. It gets into their personalities. It gets into who they are. They're what we refer to as the gamma male. They can't admit they were wrong because it would hurt their ego. You see? And they're all about their ego. They can't admit they were wrong. So these hacks, they look at the camera. They look at Kyrie Irving knowing that outside of New York and California, where these rules aren't being imposed, that there are players all over the league that sweat on each other every night, that are right up in each other's faces, they're breathing in each other's faces, they're sweating, that never got that procedure. And they have the gall to sit there and say, well, if he wasn't anti my religion, which of course is the word you don't say because it's so religious that it becomes public blasphemy to utter the word. To utter the word. Plead, the prisoner wishes to say a word. The prisoner wishes to say a word. Science! Kyrie Irving is the only one that's free because he's the only one that's stuck by what he believed to be true. And all of these talking heads, all of these vacant people have sold their souls. And they sell their souls because they're obsessed with their money and their lollipops and their fancy pants. They're obsessed with their social status and going to their fancy dinners and sitting at their box seats at these games. And all the kids look up to them and they're so cool. And that's why we as parents, and it's more important than ever, even as I talk about Kyrie in a positive way, it is so important in this modern world of television and movies and sports and radios. I mean, look at like LeBron James. Look at these sellouts, right? Look at these sellouts. These people. In this world, it is more important than ever that we teach our children not to follow false idols. You know, some people say it's not popular. Brett, don't talk about your religious beliefs. Why? I just spent 15 minutes ripping apart the atheist religious belief. Now let's talk about mine. It is more important than ever that you teach your children not to worship false idols. Because they'll turn on that television and they'll put on LeBron James and he'll say that if you don't follow every word that Hillary Clinton says, then there's hatred in your heart. Right? You'll put on Pardon the Interruption and they'll say that if you don't do what the screen is telling you to do, if you don't adopt the worldview that the screen is telling you to adopt, then there's hatred in your heart. Then you're selfish. You don't care about your teammates. You don't care about grandma. You don't care. Jesus is a false God. I don't believe. Here's something controversial. I don't believe Jesus is God. I believe Jesus is the Son of God. And I know a lot of Christians will get at me for that. That's just what I believe. Like, you could believe what you believe. Like, right? It's fine. I mean, believe me, I'm on your team. I just don't believe maybe exactly the way that you would believe. I also have great respect for the Muslim population, right? Who Allah is my God, because that's just the name they've given to describe the same God, right? A lot of people don't know that, but I read the Quran. Allah is the same God, right? Allah, whatever you want to call him. I don't care what you call him. I don't really think God cares what you call him. You know, I think it's strange that a lot of these religious texts have outright removed, have not even attempted to name God, right? I think that's strange, right? I don't care if it's the right name or not. I think that's I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to have coffee with you, brother. Yeah, Fred the man, right? Right, so I think that's odd. right? Do not name God. That sounds something like the devil would want. But, yeah, I don't care what you call him. I don't think God cares. But I think he cares about your intentions, cares about what's in your heart. But anyway, not to get too sidetracked, that tenet, that it is so important, it's more important than ever, that we do not allow, or we teach our children the danger of worshiping false idols, right? Because when your children worship LeBron, or it starts with these children's shows where they worship Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana, I love Hannah Montana. Well, what you don't know is that as Hannah Montana is being rolled out onto her nice, sweet television show, that in the background, these Hollywood monsters, these vacant souls, are breaking that little girl. They are, well, you know what they're doing to these Hollywood actresses, right? I mean, look what they did to Britney Spears. I mean, she, outside of that Free Britney movement, like, she clearly has, I'm not a doctor, actually, she's on medicine, right? So even the mainstream would say this. But if you just listen to the way she speaks, her tone will change. And at times, the way she speaks, her voice, the language she uses, she will sound like a 13-year-old girl. And then at other times, she will sound like a split personality, right? So she is a mentally ill person. They broke her. They shattered her consciousness, right? And like Miley Cyrus and all of these, child stars who grow up and they're just a complete wreck. I mean, the documented history of what happened to Corey Haim. I mean, really horrible stuff. And, so they break these people. And as they do it, and by the way, this is, so like people think like, they'll talk about, ooh, MK Ultra. What is MK Ultra? Well, that's what it is, right? That's what MK Ultra is. MK Ultra is the idea that they're going to give your children false idols to worship, right? If the people need an idol, we will give it to them. So you get the children on these idols because people look to authority, right? And then what you do is you take these child stars that you turn into idols, and they break them. And they break them, the way the MK Ultra program operates is through trauma, right? It's through trauma. And that's why these childhood actresses and actors are victimized by such trauma, right? So like, and for those of you, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? Well, I mean, this is mainstream stuff. I mean, if you just read the Church Committee report, one of the most powerful investigations in American history, if you read the Church Committee report, sit down and read it. It's worth it. Sit down and read it, which was an investigation into the intelligence agency's operations. And they openly admitted, this is all congressionally documented, that there was a program referred to as MK Ultra in which the intelligence agencies were not just looking into, they were obsessed with mind control. By the way, anyone who thinks they failed in that aim, you may in fact be victim to mind control. And what they found was that the way you control individuals' minds is through trauma, right? And that's one of the reasons they promote broken homes, and everything that comes along with that, right? I mean, and that, like, when I talk about this stuff, it's some sick stuff. There is a documentary that Nicole and we actually watched the first 2 hours of it, and we never finished it. It's like a 4-hour documentary by, who are they? They're so good. I haven't watched them in a long time. Truth Stream Media. Coley, can you write down Truth Stream Media documentary? I actually think I'll probably wind up making curriculum based on this documentary by Truth Stream Media, which covers like in depth what they did in these programs. like stuff you can't imagine. Just the worst, most inhumane. They did it against people's wills, and all from that spurred on. Like, all right, so one of the things they would do is, and they did this. You know, these people weren't volunteers, and they would put them in like these coffins, and these coffins pitch black, and they would be noise proof, right? No sight, no sound. And they would see how long, the purpose of the experiments were to see how long they could leave a human being in that situation before they break their mind, before they go insane. Now think about that. Think about what I just said to you, right? And they got very good at this stuff, very good, right? So they take these actresses and actors and these athletes, and they turn them into idols, right? They turn them into idols, and they get your children to worship them, and that's why even with Kyrie, although I like what he's saying, right? I like what Kyrie has stood for. I think I have a lot of respect for him as a human being. I would never worship him as an idol, right? Never. That's so, you know, as our children grow up and they get into this stuff, it's very important that we and listen, it's hard. It's hard. Like, as they look up to people, but we got to do everything we can through rhetoric, seeding, just to let them know that, like, the people they wind up encountering on these screens, that, you know, there's the image of them, and, you know, they could be good, they could be bad, right? But it's very important that we don't idolize them, right? That we think for ourselves. And when you think about like look at the state of the modern American man, right? Who obsess over the NFL and the NBA and all these sporting leagues, who, like, it consumes them. It consumed my childhood and the early part of my adulthood. And luckily, when I woke up, I was able to break that spell. There was a spell held over me. I mean, for God's sakes, I named my son Brady, right? Right? Don't get me wrong, I love the name. I'd name him Brady again. He owns it. Like, it is a strong name, and you should see him. You should see him. He walks up to people, he looks them in the eyes, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Brady Ryan Pike." And he puts out his hand, and he shakes their hand, and I'm so proud of him. He's, "Hi, I'm Brady Ryan Pike," right? Thoughts of Fred's going off over here. I don't know how to, hardwood bear, you don't know how to prune? I assumed you know everything. I assume all bears know everything. Yeah, I mean, thoughts. Oh, thoughts. I thought it was Fred. Thoughts fired is passionate about this stuff. He's passionate. And listen, I'm passionate about this stuff too. But yeah, Bear Mini Mom, I'm doing much better. But understand that I don't obsess over this stuff. Like, I've done enough research. Like, I really only need to know to a certain degree of, like, I don't need to keep diving into the muck. Like, once I've identified that it's all corrupt and satanic, now I focus on building. Like, I focus on gardening. I focus on planting seeds. I focus on being out of debt, running a business, being a good husband, being a good father, having lots of children, you know, doing all these things, homeschooling my children, all of these things, like the things that make us free, learning skills. Like, I built a greenhouse the last couple of months. I mean, what a skill. I know how to build a greenhouse now. And I like to go in there and I just feel it's all nice and cozy and warm. I'm like, ooh, my greenhouse, I made this now, right? And then I built a homeschool company. The reason I talk about this stuff, I don't even care. Like, I don't talk about this stuff in my daily life. I really don't. I don't care about it. The reason I talk about this stuff is because I need to educate my following and attract people who are generally aware of this stuff, so that I could ultimately educate their children so that their children could grow up to live free and independent lives and not be controlled by all this stuff. So ultimately, you just want to understand this stuff to a degree where you could get away from it, right? So like, you know, you understand, okay, you read the church committee report and you understand MK Ultra, right? So parents who understand that, they know I know what I'm talking about. So then when I say one of the things, yeah, bread and circuses, Thoughts Fired gets it. So like one of the things that we're working on right now in our homeschool community, and by the way, I just made 11 new lesson plans that I'll be uploading for this, is our study into the media industrial complex, right? So far, our students have read pages 70 to 205 of the church committee report, right? They've tracked parent corporations, and we're going to be doing much more. Like I said, I just made 11 lessons for the media industrial complex that I have to just check over and get uploaded. And I might actually start filming classes with them. I might film videos where I'm the teacher, and then the students can still do the assignments, because I think that would be very valuable. But so we're studying. YouTube, just so you know, we're on 10%. So you're probably gonna run out of power at one point. But we're studying the media industrial complex. After we study that, we're going to study the medical industrial complex, and after we study that, we're going to study the military industrial complex. That I used the Cubs to Bears children book series, and I taught a course, which there's video recordings of me teaching children how to identify propaganda. That starting March 31st, I'm going to be teaching a new live course every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. on American governance, right? That we're doing a year-long nature unit study in which children are actually planting seeds, building garden boxes, growing their food, and they're going to get entrepreneurial experience with this stuff, right? So I need to present all of this information so that parents are awake to the things in the world. One, they know that I know what I'm talking about. Two, that my worldview is in alignment with their worldview. And then I can show them, by showing them that, I could show them how valuable our homeschool community can be. So, you know, I don't really harp on this stuff. Like, there's a reason I talk about this stuff. Like, I find it interesting, and like, I like gravy. Like, it's enjoyable. Like, let's look at what corrupt thing they did this time, right? And I love to study psychological operations and how they psychologically manipulate the public. I'm obsessed with propaganda. I think it's the most interesting topic in the world. But yeah, I don't harp on this stuff. Like when I first woke up, and this is a great piece of advice. All right. I'm going to hit you with some stuff here. So when I first woke up, right, like I was like a run-of-the-mill Republican, right? I remember when I was a young man, I was like, Mitt Romney and Rand Paul, no, not Rand Paul, and Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. Yeah, they're going to save America, the two biggest shills on planet Earth, right? Two biggest shills on planet Earth. But, you know, I was your run-of-the-mill Republican, and then I started waking up to the world, and luckily I had an open mind, and like I took the information in spade. I started doing my own research. I was obsessed, like 2015, 2016, and, you know, my young wife had to take the brunt of that awakening. Because, like, all I wanted to do, like, everywhere I went, everyone I spoke to, I was like, let me tell you about the Rockefellers. Let me tell you about the Carnegies. You don't even know what's going on. Let me tell you about MK Ultra. Let me tell you about the news media. Oh, my God. You think you know? You don't know. And, like, for one, that is not a good way to wake people up. Because all you do is turn them off. Because you're throwing a bunch of stuff at them that within their worldview, they've already registered. No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Shut that off. It's like, that's a terrible way of achieving an objective of actually waking people up. A much better way is to seed people, to drop little seeds. Did you know this? Did you? Hey, the other day, You know, the other day I was watching this TED Talk by Bill Gates. It was really creepy. Yeah, what was it about? I don't know. He was talking about like depopulation and stuff. I don't know. And then just drop it and just move on. And then later they'll be like, "What was he talking about that TED Talk?" I'm gonna Google that. And once they decide to pursue it, then you seed the awakening. So it is a terrible way to wake people up. Is to just scream at them. You want to seed at them. And another great way, what I do is to just teach them as children, right? So they never go to sleep. And then when they wake up, when they grow up, they won't obsess over this stuff either. Because they're like, you know, my wife is kind of like that. She's like, I grew up knowing a lot of this stuff. Like, I'm not obsessed over it. But like, so I went through this awakening, and I'm talking to everyone about this. And like, it drove a wedge in the relationship between myself and my wife. Like, she didn't want to hear about the Rockefellers constantly and the Carnegies constantly. And, you know, I went through this awakening, and it took a long time for me to adjust to that and to become a normal person again, where I just want to talk about the world and productive things. And for a while, like, we really butted heads, and like we had low points in our marriage. And a part of the reason that I feel so strongly about my wife, that, you know, I will follow my wife, or my wife will follow me, Nicole. I'm supposed to be the leader. But the point is that I will go on this journey with my wife until the end of the world, is because I know that she weathered that storm with me, that we had really low points, that we had times where we really butted heads, times where we didn't get along. And because of that struggle, because we got to those low points, and like, she didn't leave me and I didn't leave her, right? And because we got to those low points, even where times where we probably couldn't stand each other, that we were fighting a lot, that my love for her has grown so infinitely, that our relationship is so much stronger for that reason. And we have such a strong relationship today. And there is something so powerful about going through trials and tribulations with the person and seeing them take those bullets with you and saying, wow, look at where we got. And our love was so strong, so enduring. Her commitment to me, her loyalty to me was so strong and so enduring, that as I went through this massive transformation, as I became obsessed with this stuff, and probably became just intolerable in terms of that it's all I wanted to talk about, and she just stood by me with everything. She will stand by me through anything. And I have such a deep love for my wife, and I have such a deep appreciation for our journey because of that. So like, for all you out there that, love you right back, girl. So for all you out there that, you know, go through these type of awakenings, and like, you want to scream out to the world like, hey man, I was watching Classical Learner, and he was talking about MK Ultra, and like, don't do that. Like, that is not where it is. That is not a true awakening. Your true awakening is when you realize that, okay, I've identified there's corruption, and I've identified, like, yeah, there's problems in this stuff, and we can look into it. Like, now my wife and I can look into this stuff and have fun with it, because it's interesting stuff, right? Like, it really is interesting. But don't obsess over it. Like, obsess over your family. Like, obsess over your garden. Obsess over building a business and living independently and free and not having debt and being a good parent and having lots of children and growing food and being a great friend. Like, be the friend that when your friends need something, they're like, oh, I know that's who I'm calling, right? Like, my good friend here, his car broke down, and his whole family was stranded at 7:30 at night, his 2 little children, and his wife. And who did he call? He called me, right? And yes, we were in the process of Nicole and I getting the children to bed. And Nicole, you know, she just instantly looked at me, said, of course, I'll take care of it. Go get them, right? And I drove 35 minutes away, and I went and picked up him and his family, right? So that's what's important in life. Like, that's the stuff that matters. And like, you know, I dealt with my awakening in my own way, and I channeled it into something productive. And now what I do is I put out these beacons, right? I put out I call them my bots, my videos, my video bots that are always working for me. And I put them out into the world and they say, beacons, beacons, people, are you awake? Are you alert? Are you generally aware of the things that are happening in the world? Okay, good. I'll bring your children to me and I'll try to properly educate them or help you to properly educate them. And we'll get them away from this system. We'll get them away from this system that puts everyone to sleep. And you don't have to wake up 30-year-olds if you prevent 5-year-olds from ever going to sleep, right? And that's what I do. And that's my life's work. And there's so much purpose behind it. And it's an absolute blessing. So I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today. I just riff all this stuff. So, and I love where these talks go. I love where they go. So I'm going to go back and read through your comments now. As you guys know, I like to get through my stuff because, otherwise I get sidetracked. And then I start fighting with the trolls. Then Marine Princess gets mad at me. She's texting my wife. She's like, he won't stop fighting with the trolls. So, anyway, by the way, my homeschool community is Homeschools Connected. You can find it at www.classicallearner.com. Use the promo code. If you want to join today, use the promo code Marine. Yeah, feeling much better. Doing much better. Crushing. Rodgers lied to the league. He didn't lie to the league. He was misleading to news reporters. And why would he be misleading to news reporters? Have you seen the way they publicly treat people who came out and said that they didn't want to be coerced into getting a medical procedure they weren't comfortable with? Oh, I could really blame him for misleading the media. You're a clown. You're a clown. You're a joke. And the fact that that's the stance you would take, it speaks volumes of your character. Because when you see a group of people, right, objectively, there's no argument, objectively being oppressed in a very sick way, being coerced into giving up their bodily sovereignty, right, being coerced into surrendering their rights and the things they hold dear, being told that they can't do their job and feed their family unless they give up their bodily sovereignty. When you see that and you don't stand up for those people, that speaks volumes about your character. Look in the mirror. Who are you? Look in the mirror and say, who am I and what do I stand for? Because you're the type of people that go around calling everyone a derogatory term you say, he's a member of a political party from the 1940s, right? But guess what? If you were there, guess who would have been loading people on trains? You think it would have been me? And guess who it would have been? Oh, no, I wouldn't have. I just agree with everything the government and the media tells me. What do you think the government and the media would have been telling you back then? This isn't rocket science. Look in the mirror. Be a better person. Do better. I would not have done that. I would have gone against the media and the politicians in that day. Although I never go against them today, I am a non-player character. I support the issue they're telling me to support today. I supported the agenda 2 years ago, and now they are telling me that I must wave a blue and yellow flag, so I am waving a blue and yellow flag. I would not have gone with the agenda in the 1930s. That's what I see. That's what you look like to me. Rodgers lied to the league. He's a liar. Oh, I told my wife for our co-op. I love it. Realm Earth drove my wife nuts. It was a solid year obsessing and telling my wife that I wasn't sure if Jesus even existed anymore. Really tried our marriage. Yeah, stuff in that. That's trials and tribulations. But the thing is, when you go through that awakening with the person and you get strong, you grow closer, right? Right, Marie Princess. It's like you can get your freedom back. All you have to do to get your freedom back is to give up freedom over your own body. Do you hear yourself? I would have gone against the agenda in the 1930s and 40s. I just don't go against any agendas now. Oh my God, I should just make whole videos on that. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh man. Why didn't he just quit? This is the same guy. This is what he wrote. Why didn't he just quit? Why didn't he just quit? He should surrender all of his rights and give up his job or surrender his bodily sovereignty. I am free. I would have stood against the bad man in 1940. Yeah, by the way, like, I know Marie Princess gets this, but like, even like, understand, like, also, I don't argue about religion. Like, I have complete respect for everyone's views on religion and whatnot. One of the things I like to do is point out that the way that science is practiced today, they've turned it into a religion because people, it's not connected to the scientific method or anything any longer. And then I just talk about my own belief in God because as a believer in God, I talk about my own belief